This is Marquise Williams, former UNC quarterback that started the trend of throwing the U down. And you're listening to I Listen to Tarheel podcast and talk to Taylor.
Welcome in, Mike Ryan.
What is... The studio is Carolina blue? What are you... Was that actually Marquise Williams?
Yes, I went through my Rolodex. I was thinking, can I get Mac Brown? Probably not. Can I get Coach Fedora? Probably not. But I know, who do you hate more than anybody else in the world?
That's a good shout. Man, okay. Let's do that. Let's have fun with this because this is very clearly a troll. You have me in a Carolina blue studio. Even my notes are Carolina blue. All right, the people that I hate the most associated with North Carolina football.
Yep.
I actually don't mind North Carolina basketball that much because Miami's had the upper hand in that one recently. Yeah. All right. So I'll put together that list. But what are you looking to achieve here other than troll me?
I just love to preview college football. This is a huge matchup. You guys kind of ruined the hype going into this matchup. Should have been a top 15 matchup. And I love hearing your thoughts on the Miami Hurricanes.
You are barely hiding the smile on you're just trolling me. It's all right.
No trolling at all.
No, I'm entering a slaughterhouse. This is my first time ever actually going to Chapel Hill.
And I hope you have a great time.
Yeah,
we'll go to He's Not. We'll get a blue cup.
What is that?
It's like a wonton container almost, but it's filled with beer. It's probably like 2.5 beers.
I'm not drinking beer.
But it's an iconic cup.
Because of the Ozempic.
I hate what college football does to me because the Dolphins.
Yeah,
I love the Dolphins.
You're being very awkward.
Because I know how happy it makes Billy.
He's being very
love
Isn't he being
Panthers
awkward?
Because I know how happy it makes Roy. Mm-hmm. And I hate the person that I become on college football
You seem super intense right now. Am I on between two ferns? What is happening right now? Taylor, you're being like mad weird. Marquise Williams, just spoiler alert, is number one.
How are you feeling going into this matchup against North Carolina?
Like all the excitement that I should have had for it went out the window when a combination of things happened. Let's just say that on Saturday. That I'm sure as you were watching it, you were familiar with it. You've had a survive in advance game already this season against Appalachian State, where Mac Brown said we're not playing them anymore, flatly. So, I thought that Miami had survived a really poor performance. And as I was watching it, the way that my Canes fandom was trying to spin it was, this is actually a great result for Miami headed into it. That was provided that it was a win, right? Not the embarrassing fashion that Miami lost it, but the way that the game went down, where the offense in terms of yardage was still very dominant. The defense totally dominated that game. I'm still confused as to how Miami lost that game. But as I was experiencing it, I was like, this is actually a good performance because it was a rat poison week. They came off a bye. They were kind of feeling themselves. They get punched in the mouth a little bit, scared a little bit, don't lose. And then they get to head into this monster matchup against North Carolina and know that they have to tighten stuff up. I guess what's good for Miami is that point remains. They're coming now off of a terrible, embarrassing loss, and they need this win in the worst way. But everyone's pointing to what happened against Georgia Tech as something that could potentially lose a team. Your season can totally slide now. And if you look at the schedule, I mean, these are very clearly winnable games for Miami's opponents. And I'm worried headed into this game now because how can you not be after the week that I've had personally that it hasn't ended? It's very raw still.
What I'm worried about from Carolina's perspective, because I do get a different sense with this North Carolina team. They've played 4 Power 5 opponents. They've beat them all by double digits. They're playing really great football right now on both sides of the ball. But what I'm interested in seeing is that the challenge for North Carolina is that this is the best offensive line that North Carolina's played up to this point in Miami, and this is the best defensive line that North Carolina has played up until this point. But the thing on North Carolina's side is that they do have a quarterback as good as Drake May, and that Miami...
No, they don't. Miami does not have a quarterback as good as Drake May.
Yes, correct. No.
That Drake May is considerably better than
North Carolina has the quarterback advantage, but Miami hasn't seen a quarterback as good as Drake May. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, well, Connor Wegman, I think I rate Connor Wegman quite a bit. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. We've seen what's happened to Texas A&M's season, although they've been really competitive and encouraging if you were doing the transitive property thing. Max Johnson is nowhere near the quarterback that Connor Wegman was, and he was avoiding pressure left and right. They got away with a ton of holds. But Miami's defensive line pressure, for all the acclaim, and yeah, I agree with you, this is probably the best defensive line that you've gone up against. They're not getting the sacks. They're not finishing the plays off. They're causing trouble, and their defense has been dominant. They were dominant against Georgia Tech, but they're not getting home. Akeem Mesidor's injury is a big part of that. But are you still trolling me with all of this, or are we actually talking?
We're talking ball.
I feel like, is someone going to zoom in?
No, I don't have anybody.
Is like Ryan Switzer going to zoom in?
The second person who threw the U down in that game.
Yeah, he's on the list.
That was a game. I was on that 2015 team. You mentioned it earlier in this week.
Yeah, we don't make enough about you actually played college football.
Yeah, I practiced.
Well, you practiced.
I practiced.
You didn't play.
Yeah.
But you were on some good teams, which is why you didn't play.
Yeah.
You could have played on some shit teams.
And I tore my ACL my senior year.
Oh, yeah.
So that was part of it. But the mindset of that team going into that season was like, we know we're super talented. We lost to South Carolina in the opener, and then kind of rebounded from there. But going into that Miami game, we kind of had the mindset like, hey, we know we're going to destroy them. We're less worried about the game plan. And in our meetings, we were like, hey, if you guys score, throw it down.
It's a cool rivalry. I mentioned it earlier on the show today that it was one of the positives that was born out of Miami being forced in this whole Tobacco Road conference. Is there's a nice rivalry there, primarily because of what your buddy Marquise did with the U down. It's my top 5 list. We'll get to my top 5 list of Tar Heels I can't stand. But the games generally have not been blowouts. There's a couple of blowouts that you can point to. On Miami side, there was like a Thursday night game that they got revenge for what happened the previous year. Clearly, and you'll see in my top 5 how I honor the one that had an Orange Bowl bid on the line in that COVID season of 2020. But for the most part, these games go down to the wire. It doesn't really matter if a team is entering that game considerably better or higher ranked than the other. These games are always pretty close. And for me, my main takeaway outside of that is how awful the fans are to us.
North Carolina fans?
Yeah, they're terrible with the U down thing. I really blame you for something that has taken hold of college football. I think Horn Sound was happening before the U was down, and I find that disrespectful too. It's just a big middle finger to people.
How disappointed were you when you found out that the Golden Canes trip this year was to North Carolina?
Well, I was disappointed because I wanted it to be at Temple, even though I'm sure I'll enjoy Chapel Hill far more than I enjoy Philadelphia, but I haven't been on a road game. This actually suits you quite well. When I go to see Miami on the road, they haven't won since 2017. I haven't been on the road for a Miami Hurricanes win since Malik Rozier found Langham in the end zone against FSU. So it's been a minute. And I wanted the Golden Canes trip that comes with my considerable donations to the University of Miami program to come with the side of a dub. And I wanted the Temple game to be that game. But it wasn't, and it's this North Carolina game, and it's going to be fun. Again, I'm sorry that our coach didn't kneel the ball because it could have been a lot more fun. But it's a slaughterhouse regardless, right? Slaughterhouse game, we're going to get killed. And Drake May is the greatest thing that ever happened, and we don't even have a chance, right?
Can't disagree with any of those points.
Right.
And speaking of other things that you haven't seen yet, you haven't seen Mario Cristobal win a home game in conference play.
In conference
0-5.
play, yeah. Yeah,
Lucy,
that's true.
Lucy and Jess in our college football group chat put that stat in, and
I didn't see a lot of home wins anyways last year, so it makes sense that they didn't win inside the conference. But yeah, well, that's good news for me actually because this one's on the road.
Yeah,
and you guys are having your fun, huh? I am going, and you are a nice guy, Taylor. You're not that much of a troll, and I think I went light on you when the Heat beat the Knicks. If your North Carolina Tar Heels lose this game, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be awful to you. Nonstop.
I've said this is the biggest week of my life.
Yeah, nonstop. I will not let you forget this. I'm pissed. I'm pissed at everybody. I'm going to take it out on you if we win. If we win. It's a big if, though. We're considerable underdogs, right?
Do we have anything on the line for this?
You want to make a bet?
Yeah, I'll make a bet. I just shook my head yes for the audio audience.
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I'm willing to wear a Miami Hurricanes helmet around for an entire day. Morning.
It's just
wake up,
no. Your embarrassment needs to be tenfold because you're not actually an on-camera member of the Dan Le Batard show.
Whatever.
Like you walking around with a Canes helmet doesn't actually embarrass you.
Well, I want you to wear a North Carolina helmet if North Carolina wins.
I'll do like a
Whenever you get back from LA.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll wear Carolina regalia. I'll wear a helmet if you want, but I want something grander for you.
You can name your price. That's how confident I am in this North Carolina game. As long as it's not something like permanent. I don't want a tattoo on my body or
what I want is for Sebastian the Ibis to follow you around the office for an entire day. And I can make that happen.
Okay.
So that's the deal. Let's shake on it. Shake on it. I'll wear this helmet, this Tarheel helmet, if the Canes lose. And of course they're going to lose because, they lost the season. Yeah, Slaughterhouse and huge underdog. Drake May is so great. Yeah, all those things, right? But if you lose, you have to be followed by Sebastian the Ibis all day.
Okay.
All right.
Love that deal.
Yeah.
Is that top 5 list?
Yeah, this is my top 5 list. I don't know if I have all my production elements, but top 5 people I hate the most from North Carolina football. Number 5, Mac Brown. Now, Mac Brown might be a surprise, like, oh, wouldn't you hate the head coach more? But there were actually some really important losses that he handed to Manny Diaz at a time that I wanted Manny Diaz gone. So for that reason, he actually gets a low number. I was happy when he beat up on Manny Diaz.
Any part of it have to do with him being an FSU alum?
What, for Manny? Yeah, like I didn't like Manny for a lot of reasons. Mac Brown's an FSU alum?
Yeah,
I didn't know. I know I did not know that.
He was a running back earlier in the days.
What?
Yeah.
I knew that about Middle Tennessee State's head coach, which is why he put the final score against Miami on their rings. By the way, they haven't done a lot with that victory. And I knew that was the case for Burt Reynolds and Lee Corso. Did not know that was the case for Mac Brown. Had I known, he might have been number 4. But number 4 is the combination of Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. I cannot separate them. It's been etched in my mind. That was actually a huge game in 2020. De'Aaron King at quarterback. Miami had a good season prior to that. A trip to the Orange Bowl on the line seemingly for those two teams. And that was the biggest ass kicking of this series, I would imagine. So the tandem of them, Michael Carter and Javonte Williams, is number 4. Number 3 is Ryan Switzer. You know Ryan?
Yeah.
Tell him I said he's a piece of shit. Okay. Number 2 is Marquise Williams.
Yeah.
As I was doing this segment with you, I realized you're my number 1 most hated person, Taylor. So you're number 1.
Oh, that's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor first.
What do I have to look out for in Carolina? You want me to drink a beer out of what is it?
He's not cup. We'll go Franklin Street, stroll downtown.
I'm not really going to. I'm staying in Raleigh, and I don't want to stay in Chapel Hill, but I hear it's fine.
Yeah. And
for a nighttime atmosphere, there's actually a lot of Hurricanes fans that make it to the Carolina games because there's a lot of Cuban Hurricanes out in La Montaña. Everybody has a cousin out there. So they actually show up for the North Carolina games.
I've been to a few North Carolina Miami games in Chapel Hill. They love the gold chains with the U on them.
Yeah,
which ones I'm talking about?
The turnover chains.
Oh yeah, I guess that is the turnover chain that they're wearing.
Yeah, we kind of invented that.
What's your biggest worry going into this game?
My biggest worry is that they lay an egg because they suffered a demoralizing loss to Georgia Tech. I think if they simply kneel or the fumble is correctly called or a million other things happen in that game differently, I think that Miami and their roster and their team makeup actually lends itself to a bit of a rock fight here. And we've mentioned that UNC is a favorite. And in terms of optics, they may seem like a considerable favorite if we're going just based off vibes, but that's not how Vegas handicaps these things. It's a 3.5 to 4 point spread, depending on where you look. Entering the season, this game was a look ahead 7. Throughout the course of the season, before the Georgia Tech game, this line was at 3.5. So if it moved, it's moved a half point. So I happen to know from being as closely associated to the program as I am that players are doing all the right things. But I guess I'm just worried that something spooky is going to manifest on that field. And if something goes sideways early on, that they're just going to see ghosts, and this season might just come down to that huge mistake that we saw on Saturday against Georgia Tech. That's my biggest fear, because with Tez Walker and Drake May, you got a really talented side. You have a slot corner that you were just you had diarrhea mouth about, saying that he was going to stop Restrepo. I'm worried about Tyler Van Dyke in that. I've always been worried about Tyler Van Dyke this entire season. I've always told you in our most secret moments. I just don't really see it with him. I know the arm and I know the numbers and the metrics when he's got perfect protection, but I don't like what I see out of him when he's dealing with adversity. And in that game, you want to talk about someone that dodged a bullet. It was probably Tyler Van Dyke with what Mario Cristobal did, because he was atrocious there. Now, the last time these two quarterbacks played, they had a duel for quite some time. That was a really exciting game. That was Tyler's best game of the season by a country mile. Drake May was better on the day. He's better as a pro prospect. He's a better football player now. But let's see what he does when he's up against an active defensive line. I've heard you guys are physical. We'll see.
The excitement with this North Carolina team is that everybody has said they've had Sam Howell, they had Drake May. They just need a defense that's average. And the excitement and the confidence with North Carolina comes down to the fact that their defense is a lot better than average. And North Carolina's won 4 straight in this series, and we're going to head to Chapel Hill and see if that continues.
Thank you for not having Ryan Switzer on the show, I guess.
You're welcome.
Fuck you.